Welcome to another episode of the Growth League podcast. I'm here with my guest, Jennifer Zureikat. She's the Director of Marketing at Minoan. And Jennifer, you just finished a move. You got a baby. You're managing sort of the balance between that and leading a marketing function in a team. And I'm really excited to learn about how you're playing this game. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So let's start here. What, for those that don't know the Minoan brand, give us a little bit of understanding of what you're all about. What do you sell? Who do you serve? Tell us about that.
Minoan's a native retail platform for short-term rental hosts and hospitality professionals. So basically, we work with Airbnb hosts, boutique hotels, designers of Airbnbs, and we help them procure the furniture that they need to get set up. We help them get the items that they need to keep those rentals stocked for their guests. And then we also help them monetize the rentals. So that's like kind of the cool part of our business where we enable hosts to basically generate passive income off of all of the cool stuff that they bought through Minoan when the guests are shopping the stay when they stay at one of these Airbnbs.
And is it only Airbnb, or if someone wanted to rent their house privately on a different market, is that?
Any short-term rental is qualified, and you get insane discounts. If I do say so myself, I'm also an Airbnb host and an investor. So when you're getting set up, normally you're looking at like Amazon, Target. You're trying to keep costs low because obviously ROI is super important when investing. And with Minoan, you can shop premium brands like Crate and Barrel, Article, Our House, Restoration Hardware, and get discounts that make everything a lot more affordable, but you're still creating that really nice impact to the guest, which is obviously good when it comes to the returns.
When someone decides to Airbnb their place or a place that they own, they probably don't fully understand what's all involved in making that sort of tenant ready, if you will. And so this is easing a lot of pain, I would imagine.
Oh, 100%. And you can, whether you're starting from scratch or you just need to refresh because, maybe you bought your furniture 5-10 years ago, hopefully not 10 years ago, but that's what we're there for. And then obviously making that impact when it comes to we call it our showroom, where you can actually monetize the stuff that you invested in.
And how far is the reach of Minoan? Is it across the States, into Canada? Yeah.
Not into Canada yet. We're getting there. Right now we're in the US.
Okay, great. So, you were at Zillow before and had some other stops along your journey. What called you to Minoan? Why was it the opportunity that was right for you?
Yeah, I have always been in the real estate industry in some form or fashion. So started at Zillow. I opened a brokerage with my husband in 2017. We merged with Compass. I decided to kind of step back into the corporate world a few years ago. I relocated to Tampa, Florida. I missed kind of that consistency of having, stable income, but also just like a regular schedule, not working weekends and evenings every single day like it goes when you're running your own business. So I had came across Minoan, and it caught my attention because I'm a host and investor myself. So I didn't know about Minoan when I was setting up my Airbnb, and I just knowing that you could save so much money and get really nice stuff. I'm kind of a design person. So having the opportunity to really do what I would want to do in a rental while still staying on the budget as an investor is huge. And then the showroom, the monetization of it was really just, kind of the kicker. I was like, yeah, obviously I want passive income. So as the customer, as the persona that I'm essentially targeting now, that really caught my attention. And then obviously, I joined the team and I love the team and I love what we're doing. We're building cool stuff every day. We're very nimble, very sharp, and just have like a ton of talent. So it's been great. I really, it's been a role where I'm excited every day coming into work, even though there's a million challenges.
Yeah. If you're not excited coming into work, then you got to really question what you're doing there. You can make money a lot of different places, right?
Yeah.
So when you came in day one, sort of what was the environment that you were walking into as it related to the marketing structure at that time? And then how did you understand your mandate? How do you understand your mandate today?
So when I came in, we really only had one full-time marketing professional, Taylor, who's our senior marketing manager now. And in terms of leadership of that team, it was really being handled by both our head of sales and our head of design.
Okay.
And, as most marketing professionals know, it really does take a dedicated and person who has expertise in this arena. And I think that's what our head of design and head of sales understood was we don't have time to juggle this huge function on the side. And so when they brought me in, we were super lean and we were doing things, very simply. We would go to our conferences, we would work with content partners. We had a social media presence. Since I started, we've basically quadrupled our output and just really gone full steam ahead. We've also onboarded a lot of other new people who are helping grow our set of responsibilities. So we onboarded a head of brand partnerships, and she's really scaling up a lot of the brand promotions that we're doing. And so that obviously puts a ton of responsibility on marketing, which is really exciting because prior to this, we were doing mostly brand marketing, and now we're really foraying into retail marketing.
Wow. That's a big mission. And so today, if you could describe sort of at the end of the day, what are you most responsible for as it relates to an impact on the business? How do you get you and your team? How do you get judged, if you will?
Yeah, our metrics are usually based on, what we refer to, we're a free platform. So for us, we don't really have leads. We have signups. So our member base is really we consider our babies. So every month we're looking at the number of signups we're driving. And then we're also looking at traditional marketing engagement metrics, which are very top of funnel. And then we're also looking at activation of existing users. So the marketing doesn't stop once we get someone into our system. It's a whole hurdle to just try to get them to buy something. It's easy to get someone to onboard onto a free platform, but convincing them that they need to buy something from you is tricky, especially in today's market with, we've got the real estate market not doing that great. And so people aren't investing in as many properties. Airbnb is softening. And then we obviously have, trade stuff that impacts retail. So all of that combined, it's not easy, but we're getting creative every day and we're seeing great growth. So I'm super excited about the year ahead.
That's awesome. So let's imagine that you were hiring a new employee and they asked you the question, Jennifer, what can I expect from you? What kind of a marketing leader are you as it relates to the people side of things? Because we know as a director of marketing, you're focusing on the actual function, but there's a big, massive focus on the people. So what could I expect if I was being hired at Minoan in terms of the way you were playing this game, how you show up?
Yeah, I show up in a few different ways. I would say first and foremost, I am never going to be all strategic all the time. I really think that you need to get your hands dirty if you're going to be an effective marketing leader. You need to be in there seeing what your employees do, what your team does, and learning even the new processes that maybe you have never done yourself before so that you can have more empathy for how much they're doing each day. Marketing is a fast-paced function, and there are high expectations. Obviously, every marketer knows this. Everyone's pointing at you for when it comes to growth and awareness, and so there's a lot of pressure. And I think when it comes to execution, all of that's falling on your team. If you're too, pie in the sky thinking strategically, nothing's going to get done. You need to be there side by side with them and helping them get things done. So that would be the number one thing is I'm always here to help. Even if it's scheduling a social media post and you're busy with something else, call me, Slack me. Yeah. Obviously, being such a lean team, that's just what we have to do right now. And I'm doing that a little bit more than I'd prefer to, but I still think it's a great learning opportunity for anyone at any level.
Yeah.
Secondary is I encourage autonomy as much as possible. I really don't like to be super, on top of people. I think that there's a balance between perfection and letting people make mistakes that aren't going to damage your brand.
Totally.
everything is subjective at the end of the day for the most part. So I think that, I might disagree with the way we're laying out a reel. Let's try it though. Let's let someone have a shot and see how it goes. And if the engagement is great and we see conversions from it, then I was wrong. And, again, it was just my opinion to start. So let people test and try and let them learn. And there are new trends, especially when it comes to digital marketing every day. So anyone who sits there and says, oh, this is the way we have to do it is probably wrong, because you never know what's going to take off. And then third is just leading with empathy. My big thing is I really try to come at everything with an empathetic lens, and I'm not, I will call out my team if I see an error, if I see a mistake. Honestly, it's more of like an opportunity. But I'm not the type who's going to harp on minor things just to make a point. And,
Right.
I don't think that's good for the team culture. And I don't think it's good to, foster future collaboration.
Yeah. I love that sort of three-part sort of approach that you take to this. And I'm curious about the empowerment one a little bit. What do you think happens from your perspective when leaders, because we've all been exposed to this scenario, but what do you think happens when leaders with good intent, I think, when they steal accountability from you, when they don't give you opportunity for accountability? Like, this word accountability is sometimes has a negative connotation, but what is the downside to ripping that opportunity away from somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it play out a lot where it happens too many times. The person's just not feeling like they have any ownership over anything, and they just lose all drive. They're just like, okay, so I'm just here to do exactly what you tell me to do. I'm, basically acting as an assistant at this point, just executing on exactly what you want. I'm not able to come to the table with any of my own strategic, ideas or creative concepts. And therefore I'm never going to come to the table with that. If I'm used to being constantly shot down, it's an ego hit to an extent, and it's just not worth the argument. So yeah, people get burnt out on not being able to kind of be held accountable.
For you, not necessarily relying on reports or KPIs, but when you close your laptop at the end of the day, you drive home from work, how do you know personally whether or not you were an effective marketing leader that day? How do you know if you did a good job? What do you rely on?
I rely on, their metrics are great, and you can always point back to one thing or the other. I'll be like, oh, this campaign did wonderful, and that's why we got all these new leads last week. Or, oh, look, revenue is through the roof, and it must have been those emails we sent out. And that's great. But I think when, my team and I create something really exciting, regardless of how it performs, and we're all like, wow, this looks really good. I feel really good about this, and everyone's in alignment. That just feels like a great day to me. I'm like, we really did something cool. Everybody was in agreement. We'll see the results later, but just the idea that, we came together and maybe there were some roadblocks along the way, but we got the outcome that we were looking for. Yeah. And usually when we're all in alignment, the customer agrees and they're like, yeah, this is great. I want to buy something. I want to sign up. So there's power to coming together and creating something awesome.
Yeah. How much of a part of customer centricity is woven into, like, you had the benefit of actually being on the user side as well. Does your teammate sort of embody that perspective as well? Or how important is that customer centricity to how you're building things?
It's incredibly important. Funny enough, the only other investor short-term rental host at Minoan is my senior marketing manager. So it really, between the two of us, we are the host advocate, and we have a couple of different customer types. We have our larger customers, who are almost like partners through our designers and our property management groups. Maybe they're not the end customer, but they are really feeding into this. Again, the hosts are our bread and butter. But being hosts ourselves, being independent hosts, Taylor and myself really see why we should be advocating for that particular customer type. And they make up the majority of our member base. So although the orders are smaller and maybe they're not, placing $100,000 orders every week, and they don't get that same level of visibility when we review the revenue as a company, we're constantly advocating for things that can help them run their businesses better, help them save more money, and get the most out of the platform.
Right. Right. What's your guys' number one marketing challenge today? The thing that sort of keeps you up at night a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't actually keep you up at night, but
Yeah, there are several things, unfortunately, but marketing and non-marketing related. But I think the biggest challenge right now is just there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to do. And being such a lean team, you really have to prioritize and you have to set expectations across the org. So everyone's coming at us every day with a new idea, with a new campaign, with a new ask.
yeah.
And you have to be able to say no. And it's really hard. I think a lot of marketers are yes people. We need gratification. That's why we're kind of in this role, is we like putting something out there and watching people smile and getting a positive reaction. And so I think, internally having to be like, no, we don't have time for that right now. And everyone has a different opinion on what's most important too. So you kind of have to like realign and be like, well, actually, that's not our number one revenue driver right now. That's not our number one growth driver. We need to focus on this area. And we only have, so many people to get this done. So, just learning how to say no and setting expectations.
That laundry list of opportunities and cool things that you can weave into the marketing program is what's the impact negatively for not being able to weave those things in? Or are you okay saying no to 8 out of 10 things and doing 2? Is there a linear relationship between not doing those things and market share capture? Or is it more so just having to say no all the time and the negativity perhaps that comes around that?
There is a definite impact. I mean, I could see if we had more hands, how much more could we grow if we were doing all of these things?
Right.
I also think, though, that if you're able to look at, what the current state of the business, and you're able to be like, all right, we are growing at a pretty healthy rate. Let's focus on what's already been working. We have our wish list. We'll prioritize as needed. We can weave those things in as we find time, especially, with the older stuff that starts to become more automated and easy. But, don't sacrifice something that's working just for the sake of trying something new. I really think that that's, you're going to get a very angry CEO if you try to do that. And, we all, again, being in the creative field, I think we all want to try what's new and fun, but only as time allows, and don't sacrifice the things that are actually driving results in the interim.
So what's your advice to other marketing leaders that do need to say no? Like, you imagine, the CEO, and I don't want to disrespect any CEOs out there, but you imagine they're, I don't know, at their family reunion and their Gen Z nephew comes up to them telling them that they need to be doing X, Y, Z. And so CEO comes into the office and says, hey, Todd told me we need to be doing. What's your approach for saying no?
Yeah, well, I think I'm in a fortunate position. I have a leader who actually, like, you obviously need that foundation, and he really respects my opinion. And so sometimes when I say no, I actually think that speaks better than just blindly, sure. Just saying yes to everything doesn't really show your expertise. And a great CEO hired you because they want you to say no. They want you to tell them what we should do, when should we do it, what's going to make the most impact. If they just wanted someone to say yes to everything, then I don't think you would be in the position that you are. So as long as you have that healthy relationship, I really do. I think you should feel comfortable saying no. I actually think it'll be good for the business overall.
Yeah.
Just, it doesn't have to be awkward. It doesn't have to be, the only thing that's awkward is when someone comes to you with a very fun, creative idea, and you can tell they have like personal passion behind it. And you're like, well, I don't know if that's, really going to work. But again, much like you let your employees try new things, sometimes you do have to try things that even people outside of the marketing function suggest. We're all touched by marketing every day. I think that's why everybody thinks that they can run a campaign. Everybody thinks marketing's easy because we're all affected by it every day. But,
Yeah.
if there is time, try something. I think it's healthy for the company culture overall to kind of create that cross collaborative idea zone where
Yeah.
people can come to you and be like, hey, I had this really great idea. We had a really cool idea come from one of our product leaders last fall, and she gets her Spotify wrapped emails every year.
Yeah.
She was like, we have to do this for showroom. We have to do a showroom wrapped. And I was like, that's phenomenal. I love it. And we did. We rolled it out. It was a great success. We had great feedback, great engagement. And I think that's just a really good example of, to anyone outside of the marketing function, don't feel like, your ideas are not worthy of their time.
Totally. And if you can have a hand in being the glue of the organization and bringing perspectives in and giving people this, I guess, sense that, people support what they help create. And if they can see their thumbprint on the picture, now saying yes to their idea is one thing, but also I think a lot of times we have success when we have that person who has the idea also has to play a role. Now you can't just, it's not just
1,000.
as easy as making a request.
Yeah, 1,000%. That is, I should close that out and say she also assisted us with the email. Right. So, she was in the review process. She helped build the foundation. So I do think that being able to foster, collaboration by opening yourself up to new ideas, but also saying, I'd like your help if you want to see this through.
Yeah. So besides leading a marketing function and being a leader of people, you're also a superhero because you are a mom. And I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about how on earth are you doing this? How do you balance this seemingly relentless job with no pay, but and taking care of what needs to be taken care of at Minoan? How are you doing this?
Without the support of my family and my husband, would not be able to do this. It's really, I am very fortunate because I do have a very, very supportive inner circle through family and friends. And without that, I would be at a total loss. My mom lives very close by and we lean on her every day. I have someone who watches Zach in the mornings and she watches Zach in the afternoons. Sometimes she comes in the mornings just to watch him as well because she loves spending time with him. Yeah. And then my husband, he also has a really demanding job. So he's a real estate broker. He has a business in Chicago. He has a business here. He has to fly to Chicago like at this, it's busy spring season. So it's like every 5 days he's going back and forth. Wow. And so it's crazy. And then we also have our rental properties that we have to manage. And this was an investment property. We had 2 hurricanes hit this property that I'm in now. We had major damage, black mold, had to rip everything out right after Zach was born. So it's been a whirlwind. But again, without that support system, I don't even know how I would do it at all. Mm. And that's really the key. And obviously, a wonderful son, and he's just a joy. That I love marketing, but watching Zach smile at me is the most gratifying job in the world.
I woke up this morning and I rolled over expecting to see my wife, but I saw a little 2-year-old sleeping with her arms up in the air. And it's just like, so I spent another extra 15, 20 minutes in bed just watching, right? Because these are, and I guess you have to rely a lot on your team, and what a perfect opportunity to lean into providing autonomy, providing opportunities to be accountable. So a lean team, how did you lean on that team, and how did that kind of weave itself into the support system that you define?
Yeah, I mean, and in addition to Taylor, she's full-time. We also have a part-time product marketing manager, Cynthia. She's phenomenal. She's with us like 20 hours a week. So we do get a lot of support for product marketing, feature releases and launches and announcement on her side. And then we also have a freelance copywriter. And, between the 3 of us, it is definitely a lot of work. And I probably ask more of them than they hope for. But there's always this understanding. And again, I think it's because I really like to lead with empathy that kind of trickles throughout the team. I was moving last week and I forgot to review something for our copywriter, and she was like, no problem. She worked late and still got it posted for us on our blog because we like to stick to our Monday posting schedule, even though I was behind schedule. And I think they have that grace with me because I have that grace with them. We all have lives, regardless of where we're at, whether you have a family, you don't have a family, even if you're single and you live alone and, your life looks easy, it's probably not. You have your own challenges that you face every day. I will say with Taylor, being my only full-time report, just having her online at all times, which I tell her not to be, but it's just so great. It's 6 o'clock, 6:30 rolls around. Normally I would be at my desk. We tend to work long hours and sometimes I jump back in later at night too. But these days I'm putting my baby to bed. That's really important that I'm there for bedtime. I also, not to boast, but I'm the best one at putting him to sleep. Everyone else seems to just get frustrated. And, but yeah, somebody needs something at 6:30. That's not uncommon. We're in a startup. So we work late hours all the time. Sometimes people need something at 8 o'clock. And if I don't answer, I know that Taylor will. And, vice versa. She's on vacation. She can go on vacation. I'm here all hours. And it's a balance, sometimes I'm sure people who are in a similar role feel like, wow, I wish I didn't have to work so many hours. But I also know that if I have to take Zach to the pediatrician, at noon on a Tuesday, I can do that. And the whole company, they all get it. They all understand. Yeah. So it's really great to have that supportive culture.
Yeah. I love that. For you, if you look out over the horizon, the next 3 to 5 years, where do you want to further improve or develop yourself as a marketing leader? Do you have like a vision for the future of who Jennifer is as the marketing leader 5 years from now? Where are the areas that you're excited about sharpening, if you will?
Yeah, this is really the first time I've ever been in. We are a tech platform, but we also operate as a retailer. And this is the first time I've been in there, but there's just so much more, even in the platforms that we're already leveraging, even in our paid ads. A paid ad for a real estate business looks a lot different than a paid ad for a retail company. Yeah. And so I think that, just continuing to learn and grow, offering your team the same resources to learn and grow, like don't do it in a silo. You don't know what they know. So do it together. And so I just really see myself becoming an even bigger expert in the field of retail marketing. Because I think that's, ultimately where, when I came into this role, that was somewhat foreign to me. So it's been a learning experience so far, and we're doing great things. So I'm excited.
Well, as I mentioned before, I love the way you're playing this game, how you are embracing work-life integration as compared to work-life balance, leaning on your team, providing opportunities for accountability for them, but keeping the main thing, right? Bedtime is bedtime, and this is that. And so I appreciate that from you. I'd like you to leave us with this. What do you think that marketing leaders are getting wrong today, from your perspective, as it relates to not necessarily the marketing function only, but perhaps it's the way the team is being built and managed? What's one thing that comes to mind? Marketing leaders, what are they getting wrong?
I touched on this before, but I think depending on the size of your team and, your work history, there is this expectation of when you get to a director level that you are going to be mostly overseeing and strategizing. And I think that that's wrong. I think that you should always have your hands in, because there's always something new that you're going to need to learn firsthand in order to make a strategy on it. The second thing I think that a lot of people do wrong is jumping too quickly on trends. I think that, and I'm sure a lot of people say this, I think that there are some trends that you need to act fast on in order to capitalize, but you don't want your brand to be associated with trendiness. You want your brand to be evergreen and lasting. And there's just a lot that you could be doing at any given time. And yes, there is time to explore that. But even if you're getting pressure from, the masses to try to capitalize on something, take a couple days, think about it, come up with a plan, see how it integrates not only into your existing strategy, but also, the operations of your function. And do we actually have time to explore this?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're no better than just like a TikToker just throwing stuff out
Totally.
there and seeing what hits.
No, I appreciate that reminder. That's great. Everyone, this was my guest, Jennifer Zureikat. I love what you guys are doing at Minoan. The exciting times seem just ahead still. It's still the scrappy sort of let's grow and let's make an imprint on the world, and I can tell that that's already happening. So congratulations, keep going, and thank you very much for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you, Caleb. I appreciate it.